A member of the Portland Public School community is now being held in detention by federal immigration agents.
Both the Portland Public School Department and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, say Simão Yao Paulo, who's from Angola, has been detained. ICE's website shows he's being held in upstate New York. ICE says Paulo was arrested after he tried to enter Canada, quote, without proper legal status. ICE says that Paulo was also arrested in 2022 for illegally crossing the border in Texas and was later released. Staff with Portland schools say they will do all they can to support Paulo and his family, adding his detention by immigration enforcement has, quote, done nothing to make our community safer and makes it harder for our district to ensure transportation is available for all eligible students. We've been following that story throughout the evening. One of 5 people charged in the death of a man last summer will likely spend decades in prison after pleading guilty to murder.
Kenneth Creamer was sentenced to 35 years and an additional 4 years on drug trafficking charges. This was part of a plea agreement with the Maine Attorney General's office. Creamer, Dylan Boyce, and Holden Melvin were charged with murder in the death of Dylan Caruso back in September of 2024. 2 others were charged with trying to help cover up the crime.
The USS Washington is on its way to replace the USS Lincoln in its position in the war in Iran. This is coming after a record-length deployment for the Lincoln and reports of unsettling conditions on board.
Senator Angus King joined with other lawmakers to send a letter to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth calling for more information on the conditions of the ship and the health and well-being of its sailors. Now defense officials say another warship lost power for days and families are concerned. NBC's Matt Bradley has more.
This morning, concerns growing about conditions for U.S. sailors deployed across the globe as details emerge about issues aboard another Navy ship. The U.S. Navy revealing one of its warships was at sea without power for 4 days. In July, the USS Benfold, a missile destroyer in the Pacific Ocean with around 300 sailors on board, had an issue with its generators, according to a spokesman. The loss of power causing a range of issues on board, affecting drinking water, toilets, food, and air conditioning. The Navy says sailors were given help and meals by the USS George Washington Strike Group. The USS Washington is now headed to the Middle East, where it will replace the USS Abraham Lincoln. That ship, part of the president's war with Iran.
Iran is in big trouble.
The Lincoln has been at sea for over 240 days, a record. And it's recently drawn scrutiny after families raised concerns about deteriorating conditions and morale. And the Pentagon confirmed a sailor had gone overboard and been rescued. Democrats have been calling for answers.
Our Marines and our sailors, they are the best of the best. They sign up for hard duty. But we also should expect basic habitability.
While Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has called the allegations about the Lincoln misrepresented, and President Trump has brushed off concerns.
Mr. President, is there enough food on the USS Lincoln?
Yeah, it is.
Amid questions of whether the U.S. military is too stretched.
No. Not nearly long enough.
Matt Bradley reporting there. The United Arab Emirates today announced they were cutting off all trade with Iran after an Iranian missile attack on their soil, which will further isolate Iran economically. Communities around the country have been expressing concern over companies like Flock, which automatically scan license plates and save information regardless of whether there's a police inquiry into it.
As a result, communities like South Portland have moved to end their contracts with Flock Safety, and citizens in Auburn are asking city leaders to reconsider their current deal. One of our sister stations in Michigan, where lawmakers are considering new regulations on the technology, sat down with Flock Safety's CEO, who said Flock has to deal with a lot of misinformation.
I've never met anyone that doesn't want to be safer. Maybe they exist. I've traveled the country and I've not met that person yet. And I think those are really good conversations. And then I think there are, there's a lot of misinformation. I was with a elected official earlier today in Michigan, and she said, when did you guys add facial recognition? And I said, ma'am, we don't do facial recognition. She said, but do you sell the data? I said, we don't sell the data. We don't own the data. Our customers do. We don't work with ICE. The customer chooses who to share the data with. And so I've found that once people see the truth, they go, this feels like a very good trade-off. Because at the end of the day, we have to find a society where safety and privacy can coexist.
CEO Garrett Langley also says he thinks that law enforcement agents who use flock cameras to stalk current or former partners, which has happened at least 50 different times, according to reporting from the Washington Post, Langley says those people should face upgraded charges. Flock Safety has also announced a handful of recent safety changes, including shorter data retention, automatic lockout for those who may be abusing the use of the system, and required case information to review footage.